is it going to make a bit of difference? And I don't know what Connecticut wants. If Connecticut wants the status quo, and they can send one of these two Republicans, they can send Dodd back there, and nothing's going to change. The only thing I know is if they send me, maybe things will change. I know that people will know I'm there. I know if I show up in the Senate, people are going to know that I'm there. Because I'm not going to cooperate. I'm not going to fit into their mold, and I'm not going to, they're not going to be able to sway me because I don't want to be reelected. 6 years is plenty of time. I figure if I can't make a meaningful difference in 6 years, what the hell do I want to stay there for another term? There are other people that are there. That's their whole goal in life. That's their career. They want to be in politics. They want to be in government. I don't want to have anything to do with government. And so the only reason I would be there is to see if I can clean up the mess and then go back to my real life. Anyway, thanks a lot for the call. I know I got somebody, Dan from Panama City on the line. Go ahead, Dan.
Hi, Peter. Bear with me. I'm calling from Panama through Skype, so I might break up. But I recently heard some rumors from I haven't or that they're planning to move away from the dollar sometime later this year. Now, the dollar is the official currency of Ecuador. It's been that way since 2000. And just to give you a bit of background, Ecuador is a Latin American country of about 15 million people, the GDP of about 50 billion, which is equivalent to Lithuania and Luxembourg. What effects do you think Ecuador moving away from the dollar will have?
Yeah, well, psychologically, maybe it would have a move. I mean, there are a lot of countries that have dollarized, and I think that's a mistake. I think that at one point, linking your currency to the dollar was a plus because it gave your currency more stability because you linked to a stronger currency. But based on our monetary policy, it makes no sense to link to the dollar because it actually weakens your currency. I've compared it to, if you're in school and you're going to cheat on an exam, would you cheat off the dumbest person in the class? You're better off just, taking the test on your own. I mean, why cheat off someone that knows even less than you do? Doesn't make any sense. So it doesn't do any good for countries to peg their currencies to the dollar or to try to claim that their currency is there's some ratio to the dollar to try to give people confidence in that currency when it actually undermines their currency. They have to actually be more irresponsible because they're trying to maintain that dollar relationship than if there was no relationship. But if you're hearing some rumors, I don't know. I mean, there's probably truth to some of those rumors. I'm sure more and more countries like Domino's are going to leave the dollar. Especially, you want to be early when it comes to depegging from the dollar or reallocating your reserves away from the dollar. The countries that do it sooner will be in much better shape than the countries that do it later because the first to get out are going to get better prices. And believe me, nobody wants to make the change after China, right? Because when China does it, it's all over. So countries that are in much smaller positions that don't have nearly as many dollars, they should certainly act as soon as they can because they want to front run China. They don't want to go after China. That's for sure.
Okay, great. By the way, I looked traveling through America, and I've looked for your book down here. Fortunately, they don't have it, but I've seen a lot of bookstores carrying Paul Quinn's book. So, I asked for yours in other places, but they don't seem to have it over here. I don't know if you have it in Spanish.
Keep on asking. A friend of mine a friend of his from Spain was reading a magazine about the people who predicted the crash, and there was something about me. So apparently they know about me in Spain. So. But just keep asking. I mean, my books are around. They're translated in many different languages. They're being sold all around the world. I mean, there's 150,000 copies of Crash Proof sold in America, but they've licensed it. I mean, there's Crash Proofs all over. So who knows? I have no idea how many copies have sold when you count all the foreign distribution and all the foreign language editions. Anyway, thanks for the call. Let me go to Matt in Illinois, the last caller of the evening. Go ahead, Matt.
How you doing, Mr. Schiff? Thanks for taking my call.
Thanks for calling.
No problem. It's funny you mentioned Alan Greenspan because I had a really hard time when I did watch TV after listening to him talk. I had no idea what the guy was talking about. I did read your book. Really look forward to your appearances and videos. Like I said, I really don't watch the TV too much. I think there's too much misinformation or disinformation. But I did catch a little bit of Obama's talk about 800 new IRS agents trying to go after the tax cheats, and I couldn't help but thinking, is he going to go after Cheney and Halliburton? Didn't Halliburton move to United Arab Emirates? and probably could do some house cleaning in Washington, too.
Well, I guess they can go after all the people in Obama's cabinet, because apparently all those guys were cheating on their taxes. They should start there.
There you go. And,
but, I mean, obviously... Huh?
Oh, I just have one other comment, because I know the show is winding down. I do have friends that have businesses, and they're saying the banks are not lending. They're not getting money. The banks are holding on to that money.
Well, good for the banks. Remember, the banks are in trouble because they made stupid loans. It's about time they stopped doing that. I mean, the thing is, why should the banks keep loaning money to American citizens when they're broke? Americans are loaded up with debt. They're lousy credit risks. The banks shouldn't be lending. The banks need to be lending to entrepreneurs, to businesses. But the problem is, businesses in America aren't competitive right now with all the high taxes and all the high regulations. So, it's like the banks are in trouble because they made foolish loans. And now the government is giving them money, and the expectation is they make more foolish loans. It makes no sense.
Gotcha. Yeah, I look forward. I do hope you do run for Senate. I'd like to see you debate Mr. Bernanke.
Well, I wouldn't get to debate Bernanke. I mean, if I were to run for Senate and I were to get the Republican nomination, then theoretically I could debate Chris Dodd.
Well, I don't mean that. I mean the effect of maybe getting on a committee like Ron Paul does and have the ability to ask him some questions.
Yeah. I mean, I guess, yeah. But you don't get much of a debate. You ask a quick question and then they don't answer it, and then they move on to somebody else. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, what my fantasy theoretically would be is if I can get into the Senate, would be can I sway anybody? Can the fact that I was elected, could that galvanize any kind of movement among the Republicans? I'm sure there's a wing of the Republican Party that sympathizes with my point of view, and potentially my being there will give them some courage to dig in and do the right thing. And I know the country is going to be a mess. I mean, the economy is just going to be a complete disaster. What we are creating right now, I think, is going to be worse than the Great Depression. It's going to be an inflationary depression, and at some point, somebody in our government is going to have to stand up and stop this insanity. And we are at a very crucial point in our history. There's a fork in this road to serfdom. And hopefully we'll take it and not continue all the way. But if we follow the present course, if we allow Barack Obama and the Democrats and the Republicans in Congress who want to be more like Democrats and who want to embrace central government planning and big spending, and it's not just the Democrats. I mean, Bush is just as complacent as Obama. I mean, all Obama is doing is following in Bush's footsteps. It's the same policy. It's the same errors. So the Republicans are just as complicit in this as the Democrats. But right now, the Democrats are in charge. They are leading us, and they're leading us in the wrong direction. And too many Americans too many Republicans are queuing up and following them. And that's not what we need to do. These are some serious changes. And maybe I can convince some of these other senators or congressmen that, look, at some point, whether or not they get reelected isn't going to matter. Because there's not going to be a country to be reelected to. Or maybe things are going to get so bad that even if they no matter what decision they make, they're not going to get reelected. Because maybe then people will actually act in the country's interest instead of in their own political interest. Because at some point, those two interests are going to, coincide with one another. Right now, usually they oppose one another, and generally, when it's a choice between the country's interests or the politician's interest, they always take their own political interest, and that's what needs to change.
Just hope you can make it before we're a full-blown police state. I think we're heading there.
Hopefully. Because, yeah, I mean, look, yeah, I mean, I'd like to, I want to stay in this country. I got a 6-year-old son. I'd love to see him grow up in this country, and I hope that isn't made impossible based on what this country is becoming and what it potentially will become if we don't change direction. Anyway, thanks everybody for listening again. Don't forget www.europac.net. Call toll free 800-727-7922. 800-727-7922. If you don't have an account, call and open one up. If you have an account, you should call. You should add money to the account. You should get rid of more dollars before the dollar takes its next big dump. and before the foreign stocks recover any more of their lost ground. We have a little dip going on right now. Maybe it'll be a better